Today, we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to lower the front headlight assembly on this 2020 MT-03. I've never seen this done before, so maybe it's for good reason. It might look stupid, but we're going to figure it out. Maybe some other people will want to do the same thing to try to make it look a little more aggressive with that headlight a little bit lower. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. First thing, coming in on the left side, you'll want to remove this 5mm Allen screw. It's that silver one right there. See where we're at? We're on the left side. Come up, look straight up. It's really the only silver one up there. It's holding the top bracket on. There's one on the other side. It's a little harder to get to, but I'll show you where that is. Right there, you can see the hex head, the Allen key. It's really hard to see, but it's easier to get to actually than it looks. So go ahead and remove both of those, and we will remove this 13mm bolt here that removes the horn. Once the horn's out of the way, you'll be able to get to those two 10mm bolts there, that one and that one. And so once you get all 5 of those out, this whole headlight assembly should just come right off. Okay, it looks like I lied. It's a 4mm Allen key. And you can see I just got a long extension going straight up. It's really hard to show you with the camera, but it's the only silver screw up there. And make sure this thing is seated properly. I already cracked it loose. And you just spin this guy off of there. Maybe I can show you on this side. So see where I am coming around. There it is. That's a good way to look at it. You can come around to the back if you turn the bars all the way to the left. Now that you've removed those 10mm on the bottom and those two 4mm Allens on the top, this whole thing should just come right off of here. Now I've already taken this off, but there's a piece of plastic that looks like this that these bolts go through. Go ahead and take those two. I think those are also 4mm Allen key bolts. Take those out. Take this piece of plastic off and put the bolts back in. You'll also need to take this wire and unhook it from this bracket right here so that this thing can drop down. So we're just going to let this thing dangle loose, and I will show you the hardware that we need to reinstall on here to lower this. This is the hardware that I've come up with for this mod. I'm doing 3-inch drop, which, you know, it's quite a bit, I will admit. You know, maybe you want to do like only 2 inches, but I figured I would do 3, and if I wanted to do less, I could, rather than, you know, only doing 2 and wish that my stuff was longer. So I went and got 4-inch threaded rod here. You need it to be longer than what you're dropping it, obviously. But if you could find a bolt this long in this thread, that would be better, but I couldn't, so I had to go with threaded rod. That's why I have 4 nuts. This is a 1mm pitch, 6mm diameter thread, or when you find in bolts or the threaded rod. So we're going to need 2 pieces of pipe. It doesn't matter what the material is, but it just needs to be, you know, no bigger than, I don't know, 5/8 in diameter on the outside. And the inside diameter doesn't matter as long as your bolt fits through there, because it's basically going to act as a bushing, because we're going to screw this into the bike, and then this thread down here is where we're going to put our nut on to mount the headlight back on, if that makes sense to you. This bracket right here, I had to make this. All this stuff you can get at your local hardware store. You know, the pipe, the nuts, the bolts, the washers, even plates like this. Now, I had to drill these holes in here. When you remove this headlight, or not headlight, horn bracket, you can drill holes in here 3 inches apart. So since I'm doing a 3-inch drop, these holes are exactly 3 inches apart. So it's going to drop this bottom headlight bracket / horn bracket from here to down here. So I had to make this, just cut it and drill holes in it. I got fancy with it, and I put a little bend in it, so that way it can make up for the thickness. That way the front of the headlight isn't lifted up when I install this. So, all right, I'm going to give you a little update what I'm doing here. See, I threaded the threaded rods into the top of the bike. So the idea is that we're going to use this as a big, you know, bushing, and I'm going to slide it up in there with this washer on it. Like I said, that's an option. You don't have to. slide this up there with the washer on it, and then slip the headlight over this threaded rod like this, you know, whatever, trying to get it over there like that, and then run the nut up through the bottom. And I've got my plate down here. See how we're reusing the hardware that we took off the bike? These are the same thread. We're going to use those to bolt to there, and then we're going to use a nut and bolt method to screw that right there, baby. So it'll lower the headlight down in about this position. So I'm going to go ahead and temp this up and show you what that looks like. And this is why we do trial and error. So I have it temped up here at 3-inch drop, but unforeseen problem, when you go to full lock, the turn signals bang into the side fairings. So looks like 3 inches is too far, unfortunately. If you had those fancy TST flush mount turn signals, you'd probably still hit the fairings. So if you have those, you're probably gonna still have an issue. As you can see, I mean, it just bangs right into there. So I'm gonna go and move this thing up a 1/2 inch. So I gotta cut my material. I'm gonna cut those pipes down to 2.5, and then I gotta drill holes in that bottom plate. The bottom holes, I'll move them up a 1/2 inch, and then we'll be back to try that, see what that looks like. Hopefully that works. All right, let's try this again. I drilled new holes 2.5 inches apart, close together, and I cut the bottom off. I went ahead and painted everything, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it on there, and we'll see if that works. We're all done. I opted not to use the washers in there. Here is the spacers. You can see the splice there, and it runs down to there. I ended up just leaving the threaded rods long. Run my nuts up there, both sides. This is, I cut these spacers to about 2.5 inches. I would say that's the max you can go. Here's that plate. We reused the OEM screws to run the 2 in the top, and reused the OEM 10mm screws on the bottom with those nuts I bought. We were able to put the horn bracket and horn back in the factory position. I did have to take one of the factory zip ties that was holding this wire to the fork off to give it a little bit more slack. I also switched, I had to unplug these wires and flip them around so that they were going the other way, give them a little bit more room. This is, I mean, your dash is lower. As you can see, it's a little bit further away from you, but it's not bad at all. It's really not that bad. I mean, you really don't notice too much of a difference, but it definitely looks more aggressive. That headlight is a lot lower. It's not sticking way up here. I'll show some side-by-side photos. I don't know. Some people may think it doesn't really make a big difference. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It was a fun little project. It's like less than 10 bucks, and a few minutes putting it together, painting the parts. And we can always go back to stock because we didn't cut or, modify anything on the bike itself. We just took it apart and put it back together with some additional hardware. So if you want to bring it back to stock, we can. But yeah, that's how you do that. If you let me know what you think.